Morning, everyone. I call to order the November 12th, 2025 Planning Commission hearing at 9 a.m. We are meeting in the County Office Building, room 101 at 455 County Center, as well as via Zoom. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please proceed with the roll call.
Commissioner Garcia,
Present.
Commissioner Gupta,
Here.
Commissioner Nugent,
Present.
Chair Salanopan.
Here.
Thank you. Have a quorum.
We'll now open public comment for items on the consent agenda and items not on the agenda. This meeting is a limited public forum. All public comments must relate to something that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the agency. If a comment does not relate to the subject matter jurisdiction of this agency, we will interrupt your comment and move on to the next speaker. As presiding officer of this meeting, I will determine whether a comment does not relate to the subject matters placed within this agent's purview. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I will first call upon members in person, followed by speakers on Zoom. For in-person comments, the speaker slips are located in the back of the room. On Zoom, please use the raise hand feature or *9 if you're calling by phone. And at this time, we have nobody wishing to speak on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now close public comment for items on the consent agenda and items not on the agenda. Is there a motion to set the agenda and approve the consent agenda, which includes item 1, minutes from October 22nd, 2025, and item number 2, PLN 2025-00334, and item number 3, PLN 2025-00299.
So moved. And second.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia,
Aye.
Commissioner Gupta,
Aye.
Commissioner Nugent.
Aye.
Chair Salanopan.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
We will now move on to item number 4. Madam Clerk, please introduce the project and the plan.
Owner applicant Eric Markegard, file number PLN 2023-00112, location 350 Madera Lane, San Gregorio, APN 081-320-030, and your project planner is Sonal Agarwal.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sonal Agarwal, and I'm the project planner of file number PLN 2023-00112, which is located at 350 Madeira Lane, San Gregorio. This project is an after-the-fact PAD permit, coastal development exemption to legalize the basement and first story of an existing cargo container storage building that was built without permit, a man-made pond, and a water tank on a legal 25,253 square feet parcel. It is related with violation 2022-00089. The project site is located at the intersection of Madeira Lane and La Honda Road. It is a 0.5 acre parcel zoned as PAD-CD. It's a small triangular shaped parcel with the existing building. There is an existing barn, 1 non-potable well, 2 water tanks, 1 pump house, 1 shed. No trees were removed and approximately 98 cubic yards of grading was involved for the pond. The site is located in La Honda Road, County Scenic Corridor, and the project qualified for a coastal development exemption for agricultural related development, and a PAD permit is required as the project falls under section 6353B12 for facilities for processing, storing, packing, and shipping of agricultural products. So as currently built, the storage building, container storage building is 3 stories facing the internal side, and it is 2 stories facing the La Honda Road side. The applicant has agreed to revise the proposal, and I will discuss the proposed changes here. So the second story containers will be completely removed from the site, and a new roof will be installed, which will be painted to green color to match the existing barn. There will be a new sound attenuating wall installed in front of the freezer. There are currently there are some illegal bathrooms and kitchen in the second story of the container storage building. But as the second story will be completely removed, these illegal units will also be removed. The illegal bathroom in the shed next to the barn will also be removed. And currently there is an emergency generator located in the front setback, which will be also moved outside the front setback and will need to comply with the setbacks of for sheds. So here's the site plan and some pictures of the site. As you can see, the site is a triangular shaped site. It has this container storage building in the center, and next to that is the pond to be legalized as well. There is a 5,000-gallon water tank, which is also part of legalization. On the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the existing barn, the shed, and one water storage tank. With this proposal, applicant will be also planting some planter garden. There is an existing VR present, there are currently 8 parking spaces. Whereas only 2 spaces are required, and I will go over that later in the staff presentation. So here you can see the floor plan. The basement will be used for storing agricultural tools and supplies. The left side first story container is actually currently a freezer used for storing packaged meat. And the right side container will be used for storing tool maintenance shop, used as a tool maintenance shop. And as you can see from this picture, the second story will be removed. So it will be 1-story building. And we have imposed a height restriction of 20 feet with the revised building. And the second story will be completely removed from the site. Here are some other side elevations, which shows the sound wall, which will be installed in the front, and the removal of the second story. This is the current situation of the building, seen from the rear, and here are some front and rear elevations. So the revised project was found to comply with the following policies. It complies with general plan, policy 4.15, appearance of new development, policy 4.22, scenic corridors, policy 9.23, land use compatibility in rural land, policy 9.30, development standard to minimize land use conflicts with agriculture. It complies with local coastal program. And the proposed man-made pond does not meet the definition of wetland or a riparian corridor. So no setbacks are required for man-made pond as well. Compliance with PAD regulation, the container storage building and pond are clustered at the site, and the site has non-prime soil and is suitable for large scale. Is not suitable for commercial farming. Proposed container storage building to store packaged meat, storage and refrigeration used directly supports the applicant's agricultural operation both in San Mateo County and outside of the county. The project was found to comply with the zoning regulation. As you can see, the required front setback is 30 feet. The storage building is located at approximately 44 feet. It complies with the side setback, which is more than 20. The structure is located at more than 20 feet from the sides, and it also complies with rear setback, which requires a minimum of 20 feet setback. And the revised building will not exceed 20 feet, and a condition it was added to the staff report, condition number 5. We'll see that it is imposed. So the project was heard at 2 AAC meetings, January 13th and October 28th AC meeting. The item was not completely presented at the October 20th meeting due to lack of time. Hence the item was continued for today's presentation. So there are some concerns that were raised at the January 13 meeting, and staff followed up with respective agencies to look into those concerns. So one of the concerns that was raised was whether a water right was required from San Gregorio Water Master to harvest rainwater from the pond. And staff followed up with the representative of San Gregorio Water Master and confirmed that no water right is required if surface water is not diverted from a creek. So this was resolved. Purpose of the pond and why no grading permit was required was another question. The project involved approximately 98 cubic yard of grading, and no grading permits are required up to 150 cubic yard per year. In PG&E power lines were moved. So staff reached out to the PG&E staff, and they stated that they have no issues with the pond, and the applicant will be required to obtain all necessary permits from PG&E separately. A condition was also added in the staff report to address that. There was another question about additional trees not sufficient to screen the building. With the revised proposal, the second story will be removed, and additional trees will be planted facing La Honda Road side. So that will help screen the first story containers. Staff added conditions 5 and 10 to address this. So illegal construction in the illegally constructed bathroom in the shed next to the existing building. The applicant has agreed to remove all illegal constructions from the site. There is a condition added for use restrictions under condition 5C and 22. Purpose of the existing existing well and required setback. So the existing well is a non-conforming, non-potable well. For environmental health services, existing non-conforming well can be located at reduced setback if a permit is obtained and use is limited to agricultural purposes. Applicant will be required to obtain all necessary permits from environmental health, and a condition is added to address this. AD compliant spaces, whether AD compliant spaces is required, and the number of required parking. So the proposal currently shows 8 parking spaces, whereas only 2 parking spaces is required. 1 space is required for each 2,000 square feet of floor area, and the container storage building is approximately will only require 2 spaces based on the calculations. So no AD parking space is required if the site is not open for the public, which it won't be because there will be a condition. There is a condition imposed on that as well. No on-site sanitation and water facilities for the employees. So no employees will be working from the site for extended period of time, and the site is not open to public. So no on-site sanitation facilities are required. The condition is also added to address that. Tenants living on the property. So code compliance has confirmed that no one was found living at the site on the September 7, 2022 site inspection, and applicant has agreed to remove all illegal construction. Any further violations of the use restriction is subject to county enforcement procedures. We have imposed a condition 6, added a condition 6, which restrict the use of the site. Noise thresholds violated. This was another concern that was brought up. So further inspection conducted by the code compliance staff, all noise readings for refrigerated container unit were between 48 dBA to 47 dBA, which confirmed that the noise ordinance was not violated. There are conditions added to make sure that the noise will stay under 55 at daytime and 50 at nighttime. Excellent. So the project required an MND to be prepared. An MND was prepared and submitted between October 15 to November 5, which included these following mitigations, to name a few. Second story will be removed. Additional plants will be required to be planted. New roof will be installed, should be installed on the first story, and it should be painted green. And the number of light fixtures should be, any external light fixture should be downward directed. And a construction verification report shall be submitted from the geotechnical engineer. And all existing fire hydrants should be shown on the plan. As currently shown, the site plan is missing a few details, but that will be shown at the building permit plan. So we will ask the applicants to revise the plans and submit all the details shown on the plans at the building stage. Yeah, second story will be removed and they have to take permit from environmental health separately, and the sound levels should be maintained under 55 dBA daytime and 50 dBA nighttime. There are some public comments also received for this item, and staff has included those comments in the staff report as well. We have received public communication from a neighbor across the street, which included concerns related to noise, illegal lodging, view impacts, etc. The revised proposal to be submitted at the building stage would address most of these concerns. And the second story is removed, as you can see from that picture. So staff recommends that the planning commission approves the after the fact PAD permit and CDX for PLN 2023-00112 based on and subject to the required finding and conditions of approval listed in attachment A. That concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, staff. Do we have any questions for staff and the commission?
I have a question. So the second story is being removed because it was a dwelling unit and did not need it anymore? Is that-
Yeah,
Okay.
that is also a reason, and to also mitigate the view impacts, removing the second story will help mitigate that as well.
But it currently doesn't exceed the height limit?
Yeah, it currently doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The
Please.
question that I have is only this is that a cargo container?
Yeah.
So isn't cargo container kind of like a mobile unit?
So basically, these are built on foundation now. So technically, they are mobile, but they are now installed and settled on
With a foundation, with a foundation. So it has a basement
Yes,
also, where they do some storage,
Yeah.
use it as a storage. So that is the only thing that it was built without a permit, or is there something else?
So the whole building, container storage building, is part of legalization. The pond which is next to it is also under this permit to be legalized. It was built by the owner by grading 98 cubic yard. And there's also a fire tank right in front of the storage container building. It's 5,000 gallon fire. 5,000 gallon water tank. That is also part of the.
So they, so this is, so we are also looking at approving
Yeah.
that too. But are we also talking about there's also another tank?
The existing water tank is legal, has been on the site for quite a while. So yeah, basically 3 components are primarily under this legalization.
Okay. So just for my understanding, what all is there on this property?
Can you go back to the site plan? Actually? So as you can see here, the container storage building is located.
Excuse me, I can't read those, so you have to read them out.
Yes.
The ones that are highlighted,
Yeah.
I am unable to read those. So if you could read them,
Yes.
I'll appreciate it.
So there's if you can see the circle, there's a 5,000 gallon water tank, which is part of the legalization. Yes, this one.
Okay.
And the building is next to that, the three-story cargo container building, which is part of legalization. and the pond is next to that as well.
Okay.
And the existing barn is located at the bottom right-hand corner. And there's also a shed next to it, and I have some pictures to show the existing barn, shed, and the existing water tank, and the condition of the pond, and how the existing building is looking from front, side, and the proposed planter boxes.
Yeah, thank you, Sonal. If I could add, so another issue that's come up is the use of the barn that's on the upper right corner. Okay, so the property does not currently have a domestic water well, nor does it have a legal septic system. However, it's been alleged, and I think there's evidence to support this, that the upper story of that barn has been used for habitation by employees. And in terms of rectifying the unpermitted development that has occurred on the site, in addition to requiring revisions to the cargo container structure, the recommended terms of approval of this permit would require that all the facilities that have been installed that could accommodate overnight use by employees be removed. So that's another aspect of the project that we're attempting to rectify through this approval.
Okay. So is that documented in here?
Yes, absolutely. So yes, this is really an unfortunate situation where the owner of this property is an established agricultural operator within the county. Unfortunately, he made significant improvements to the property without obtaining the necessary permits. And we're stuck in the difficult position of trying to rectify that in a manner that both recognizes his right to some agricultural use of the property, but also attempts to minimize impacts to the adjacent neighborhood. And so the many conditions of approval that are attached to this report is staff's best effort to establish that balance between allowing reasonable use of the property that is associated with agriculture, but also to rectify the illegal use of the property that has occurred in the past.
Okay. So this barn, we call it barn, right?
Yes, we're calling it a barn, and it can be used to store agricultural materials and equipment, but it cannot be used for habitation because of the fact that there is no approved domestic water source, nor is there an approved septic system on the site.
Okay. But that barn is legal.
Yes, it was stalled.
Yeah. It was
So,
just
That
about-
barn, okay. So we are not, or we are not asking to remove any part of.
No, but we are including conditions of approval that ensure it will not be used for anything other than storage purposes.
Okay. And if I understand correct, there's no domestic well, you said?
That's correct.
The well that's on site is non-potable water, is that?
That's correct.
Do I understand that correctly?
That is correct.
So what we are looking at approving covers all these things that you just discussed?
Yes, that's
You
correct.
mentioned,
So the recommendation proposes to approve a reduced cargo container structure with the elimination of the two upper stories. And it also requires other violations on the site to be addressed. So in addition to removing the facilities that would accommodate overnight use of the barn, the conditions that seek to remedy some of the impacts this development has had on the adjacent neighborhood include installation of the sound attenuation wall so that the generator is not interfering with the neighbors. It's requires landscape planting to minimize the impacts of the structure on scenic views from Highway 84. It requires the relocation of the power pole that was moved without permits to go through the proper permit process. And so, yes, it represents our best effort to try and remediate the violations that have occurred, but also to enable the property owner to make a reasonable use of the land.
Okay.
You know that there's no existing septic.
Correct.
System. I assume there's also no
Municipal.
municipal, okay. Is there, does the mechanism exist to get a septic system installed in the future?
The property owner would have the opportunity to propose to install a septic
It
system.
is something that could be permitted.
It is
Right
something
now.
that could be permitted in the future, but not something that the applicant has at this point.
So, was this done a while ago? Like, on?
Yes, you know, I think we opened the violation in 2022. And I'm sure you heard Sonal's description of our efforts to try and rectify it through the years. Get obtaining the Ag Advisory Committee's opinion on the matter. Unfortunately, in situations like these where a property owner does development without the proper permits and we're stuck with trying to deal with it after the fact, it makes it very difficult because, you know, when a property owner has a desire to develop a vacant parcel, they're required to submit a lot of information to document that the proposed project will conform to all the relevant regulations. When we are faced with an after the fact application where a property owner has already installed the improvements they desire to install, then we have less leverage to get them to submit the information that's required for us to truly evaluate the consistency of the development with the relevant standards. And so that's one of the challenges we've been faced with in this instance is the property owner has not necessarily been forthcoming with all the information that we would typically require as part of a development project. But on the other side of the coin is the neighbors who've been impacted by the development. And so in these types of instances, we try and avoid a situation where, you know, the applicant's failure to provide the necessary information delays the hearing and the decision on the project, because in this case, you'll hear from neighbors who've been impacted by the project, and they've been impacted for the past 3 years by this project, and they are deserving of a final decision as to what can stay and subject to what terms. And for that reason, we've tried to push this forward as quickly as we can, despite the lack of full cooperation from the property.
So typically it's the neighbors coming to the county is how you find out about these, any of the issues.
Yes, I mean, we do our best to keep, to stay aware of development that occurs without permits, but because of the vast geography of the unincorporated county, we can't have eyes everywhere. And so we do often rely on neighbors to identify when private property is being developed without the necessary permits.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Thank you.
Please.
Just going back to the septic and sewer,
Mm.
there was found to be a bathroom or multiple bathrooms.
Yes, I think we have identified the presence of a bathroom in the upper story of the barn and
One next in the shed.
one next to the shed, and so the terms of our,
Where where was its waste going?
I don't think we know definitively.
So we have also added conditions that all the, if there are any pipes or anything related to those illegal bathrooms, those should be also removed because I think based on the size as well, installing a septic, my understanding is installing a septic might be something challenging because the site is pretty small. So that is also something which may or may not happen in the future, depending upon what environmental health can approve.
Yes,
I guess, is anything necessary to remediate what waste was already generated, or?
that's a good question. I know the neighbors who are present here today might have some insight into where the drainage of those bathrooms went. And that's something that we can certainly investigate. At this point, we're not aware of any contamination that might have resulted from those, but it's a valid question that we can look into further.
If the applicant is here, you have 15 minutes.
I do not believe the applicant is here, Sonal, you.
So I don't, is Eric Murphy?
No.
So I think he is probably not present here or not.
Or not.
Yeah,
He's not present on.
yeah, but I had a conversation with Eric on Monday and he has reviewed the staff report and he's agreeing to the condition imposed in the staff report as well.
Why don't we open the for public comment? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I will first call upon members in person, followed by speakers on Zoom. And we did receive written comment for this item that was shared with the commission. And we have 2 speakers wishing to speak in person. So I will first call on Ronnie Cardoza, followed by Crystal Chase.
Good morning. My name is Ron. I'm the property owner to the west. If you can get a picture of that, ma'am. Yes, and it showed my crop, my farm, and my ranching. So I'm 5 generations on the coast side there. And I used to farm this piece of property when Daniel Coy owned it. And I spoke to Mr. Coy, who's the sheriff of San Mateo County. And I said, what did you do with the piece of property? He goes, my goal was to build a house for my daughter, but we can't. There's no water in the property. That well was not there. When I used to farm that was done after that he just dug a hole. The land over the last 20 years has been so altered. It used to be crowned. Now all the water, and if this building is approved, the water will accommodate more into my crop. It's flooding my crop more and more, and I'm losing every year. All that water is altered down that driveway, and whatever water is gonna come off that roof, even if he puts it into the pond, there is no overflow. It's all going down to the culvert and flooding and going into the creek. And some of us in San Mateo County get our drinking water from the creek. So we try to keep the water as clean as we can, except for the winter months. The last 20 years with this building and the previous building, there's been a lot of problems with people living there. There's probably 5 police reports, dog attacks, bites, neighbors coming over. 4th of July, I was hauling hay, and the gentleman that's running the bee thing right now is urinating in the street. There is no, except for the incinerator toilet in there. The property is not big enough for a leach field. And that's why Mr. Coy said he was trying to buy the land next door from Mr. Souza. And he says the partial is unbuildable for a house because it's not big enough. So the other barn that's permitted, you know, we'll say 15 years ago, he went through the whole process, so he knew how to go. We all know living here, it's a nightmare, but you have to realize it's not a nightmare. We live in paradise out there. We are so honored to live in that county. And we all know how hard it is. If there was no rules and no regulations and everything was built, it'd be like a city. I come from a long heritage, a long roots. This has nothing to do with ag, and I'm all for ag. This has nothing to do with it. It's just more housing. We saw the ads on Craigslist about trying to rent this building out. It's just been a nightmare. And I would appreciate to consider all those things. It's an eyesore. We listen to that noise for 3.5 years now. You go to bed listening to it, it runs about 10 hours a day out of the 24. We listen to that refrigeration unit, and it's just an eyesore, and it shouldn't be like that. And like I said, I'm all for ag, so I appreciate you listening to me. If you guys have any questions or comments, I can answer. So to the best of my knowledge, I will help you in any way. Thank you.
Crystal, go ahead.
Sorry, my notes on the phone. Good morning, my name is Crystal Shea, and I also am the neighbor who turned the project in to the county back in June of 2022. After many meetings and looking over incomplete proposals, I'm still trying to figure out how this project could possibly be allowed to move forward, even with the many mitigation measures that are being requested. I still ask myself, if this project had been properly proposed before any construction had taken place, with the size of the lot and the monstrosity of the structure, would it have ever been approved? This particular applicant has had violation after violation on this particular parcel since he took over in early 2000s. He already has an after the fact permit for the barn on that parcel. So he learned his lesson, or should have learned his lesson then. So he is very much aware of the proper procedures of how to get something like this permitted. This particular applicant does not care about the neighbors he affects or what the rules are in the county, which is why at the end of my submitted questions, comments, and concerns that I submitted on Monday, I requested that this project be denied and what has been done to be taken down and returned back to its natural state. As I was getting ready this morning in my bathroom, of course, my bathroom window has to be open for the shower steam to escape, but I'm just forced to listen to the annoying buzzing and humming of that motor, and there's no escaping it. So then I asked myself, where else in San Mateo County would this be? Perhaps on maybe a larger parcel, not in the scenic corridor, but who knows? It takes a lot of space. The applicant knew that this project would never get passed if proposed properly, which is why he did not take the proper procedures in applying for the permit before any construction, grading, concrete pouring, etc. took place. He's hoping for a slap on the hand and a little fine, and if he gets his way, this will be very sad, because this is what the president is being set for the rest of San Mateo County. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, we can help you out.
Thank you. We will now move on to Zoom comments, and I do have one hand raised. So I will call on Will. Please begin. Will, sorry. Please unmute your mic and begin.
Okay, unmute. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, it's Eric Markey Guard, the owner of the property. Let me just start by responding to all of the things that the two neighbors just said. Let me see, after the fact, permit on barn number 1 is not true. I absolutely went through all of the steps with San Mateo County Planning and Building to build the original barn. So that statement is false. Flooding Ronnie Cardozo's crop is absolutely false. I have no water running off my property into his hay crop. Never have, never will. There is absolutely zero septic on that property. There never has been. At one point, I had what's called an Incinolet. It's a $2,800 brand new composting toilet. It was used maybe for 6 months. It is very safe. It does not contaminate anything. I'm one of the best regenerative ranchers in the state of California. So I do not poison land or water or anything else. The neighbors talk about how horrible I was to violate and do all of this infrastructure. They themselves, if you would like to go there, you can see illegal shipping containers exactly about like mine. You can see 8 to 10 hound dogs that they have living outside of their bath or bedroom window, barking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, living in a 4x4 concrete slab with a cyclone fence around it. I would love for you to go and see how he treats his animals. He has a garage illegally built on his property right next to a creek. So the moral of this is that many people do illegal stuff, including the couple that are turning me in, but neighbors don't always turn other neighbors in. Am I sorry that I built it before getting the permit? Yes. I had a horrible fire in the CZU. I lost my entire property. I desperately needed storage. So I went ahead and did that project on that property. I apologize. I do not want to hurt any neighbors or anybody in the process. The noise factor is ridiculous. The dogs are way louder than the freezer. I have absolutely offered to put sound walls in. The fire store, yeah, no one has ever lived upstairs in the barn. That is absolutely false. These accusations are a neighbor that wants to control everything on that little road, and he's got it out for me, and the proof has just shown through all the years of turning me in countless times. I don't know why. I've lived here my entire life. I was born in the hills right above that property. Ronnie Cardoza grew up in Half Moon Bay. He grew up in a city. Yeah, it's very disappointing. But anyway, there's two sides to every story. I am sorry I built that double container barn. I will happily take the top stories down. There is no septic. It's just, yeah, it's a witch hunt right now, and I'm the witch. So I would love for you guys to go out there and actually see the property and understand what I do, that I feed thousands, tens of thousands of people. I sell over 100,000 pounds of local grass finished meat in the San Francisco Bay Area to supply food. I lease 15,000 acres of agricultural land. I'm the largest land, holder, not owner, but holder in this county. And I'm doing good stuff. So anyway, I think I'm out of time, but let me know if any of you ever want to go to the site and actually see what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, and pardon me through the chair, the applicant does get 15 minutes, so he does have an additional 10 if he wishes to speak.
If there's anyone that has questions, I would love to answer questions. Otherwise, I think I pretty much covered, yeah, there's no water. There's no water going off of my property onto Ronnie's crop. I would not do that, even though I'm pretty disappointed in my neighbors, but when I built the driveway, he asked me to put a gutter at the bottom of the driveway so the water does not sheet across Madera Lane. This was all legally with the first barn. Public Works was involved. So Public Works can tell you guys or whatever. You can look back at the permit. He asked me to put a swale at the bottom of my driveway, and I absolutely did that for him. It cost me extra money and my vehicles bottom out in the process, but I still did that to avoid water from going into his crops. So the water goes in the gutter, goes down my driveway, and through the culverts. So it does not flood his crops. There's no evidence of that. As for the pond, it does not have an overflow because it doesn't need an overflow. It doesn't have a pond liner. I dug it and it's sandstone about starting at 4 feet below the surface. So the top is all porous. So the pond cannot fill up and overflow. It fills to like 4 feet and then it percolates in the ground. No matter how big of a winter, no matter how much water you put in, it doesn't have an overflow because it doesn't need an overflow. It just percolates into the ground. So I've built 15 ponds in San Mateo County on numerous properties. I do a good job. I take pride in my work. I don't, there is no septic on that property and there never will be. I wasn't trying to scam anybody. I was just trying to stay in business. So if anybody has any questions, I would love to use my 8 minutes left to answer those questions. Thank you.
I had one question for you. The pond there's one pond on your property or 2 ponds?
How do I raise my hand? Here we
You're
go.
unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay. No, there's one little pond. I literally contacted San Mateo County and said, can I build a little pond? And they said, if you only move, I forget what amount of dirt you can move a year, then you don't need a permit. So I started with a little excavator. It's literally the size of maybe a small swimming pool. I just use it to irrigate. The only water on the property, as you know, is that little well that doesn't produce much. And then I use roof water catchment on the original barn. I have gutters that fill, one side fills the 10,000 gallon fire suppression tank, the other side fills the pond, and I use it to irrigate my little raised beds. I have a little garden area there because I live right on the ocean and there's too much fog to have peppers and tomatoes. So we grow some peppers and tomatoes for the family and for my customers. I sell grass-fed beef, lamb, pork, and chicken. So we offer whatever menu, not menu, whatever the heck it's called, different ways of cooking your meat, and we offer some little spices. We give them away for our best customers at the end of the year. So and then my neighbor or friend and neighbor that works for me also has a bee yard there. So there's one little pond. It's tiny, and I just use it to irrigate later in the summer when the tank runs out.
Thank you. And then you also have a beehive, right?
Yes, the barn that they said someone lived upstairs in has all the honey processing stuff in the bottom, and then there's a bee yard. It's the main yard, and then the bees also go on all the ranches I lease. I lease the Cloverdale Ranch, 7,000 acres in Pescadero. I lease the Machado Ranch on Highway 1 is 1,000 acres. So I lease ranches around the Bay Area, and that bee yard is the epicenter. And then the bee boxes go out to the different ranches that I lease. And just so you all know, the only reason I have that freezer on that property is because I have exhausted all of the electricity coming from Tenides Creek Road to my home ranch, where the majority of our freezers are for our meat storage. So I asked my landowners, which is Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District, if I could put more electricity on this ranch to run a freezer, and they said, no, it's too involved, too expensive. So I don't want my meat to be stored on that little property, and I don't want to be bothering anybody, but I have no choice. My hands are tied. I do not own any other land. I don't have another location to put that freezer. But I can promise you, if you go out there and listen, you're going to hear the dogs barking 24 hours a day more than you're going to hear my freezer. And I don't want to upset my neighbors. I am happy to build a sound wall. I already did build a sound wall to appease them. And they told me that it was better, but then they kept turning me in over and over and setting up cameras into my property, invading my privacy. So I thought, you know what? Why am I going to put a wall up when they're complaining to the county and the county's coming out and checking the sound from their bedroom window, from their house, and it's under the it's allowed, it's not louder than it's can be. So I removed the sound wall because I'm tired of being, they're constantly messing with me. I'm a rancher because I love wildlife and livestock and nature. I don't want conflict with neighbors.
My question really is, you have bee hive, right?
Yes, there's beehives and a processing to turn. Yes, there's beehives on the property.
Beekeeper, you have leased the barn to a beekeeper.
Correct. Yes.
Right. And what does that involve? Does a person come out and remove that from time to time?
Yes, Aiden comes out. Aiden Wing from Wings of Nature Bees comes out and processes the honey seasonally. So he's probably on the property maybe, 6 or 8 times a month. And then my family, we process our livestock in Petaluma and we butcher our animals. Sonoma Meats is our butcher, and we pick up meat every week. And sometimes
let's just talk about the bees.
Oh, okay.
The bee, right.
I was just letting you know how often people go to the property.
Yeah. So does, you said the person comes out a few times a month. Is that correct?
The beekeeper might go out a few times a month, or when he's processing honey, he would go out more often than that, but definitely not every day. We might go there once a week or once every 2 weeks to pick up meat from that freezer to refill the freezers at our ranch.
Okay. And your and now for the beef, how often is that transported back and forth?
The beef and lamb and pork and chicken is brought in. We bring it in from up north, maybe once every 2 to 3 weeks. It all depends on the time of year. We kill more in the spring. So this time of year would be less. And then we store 90% of all of our product on the ranch that we live on, not 350 Madera Lane. That is bulk storage. So we don't do any work. We don't take meat from boxes and put it into coolers for farmers markets or deliveries at that location. We only store boxes, 50-pound boxes of meat at that location. So I would say an average would be once every 2 weeks.
Once every?
Once every 2 weeks or so might be an average. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
No more questions from me.
Yeah, question for the applicant.
Please. You noted there isn't and there will never be a septic system on the property.
Correct.
I guess I'm not familiar with what the county code regulations are for an incinerator system. Is there, can staff maybe comment briefly on do we have a means to permit an incinerator?
I don't believe so. So it would be the Division of Environmental Health that sets the rules regarding acceptable methods of waste treatment. To my knowledge, incinerators, toilets do not meet county health requirements. And for that reason, we are requiring removal of any bathroom facilities on the property.
Right, okay.
So can I say something to that? Yeah, we've asked the environmental health for years and years to allow composting toilets because of the technology that has happened. And what they've said is that we understand that we would be good with a composting toilet, but if they legalized it in the future and you sold the property, somebody else might not maintain the toilet correctly. So I would love nothing more than to be able to have an apartment on this property for my employees. It's impossible to pay agricultural wages and have people live in this county. It doesn't work. So, but no, the composting toilet was used years ago for a very short period of time. I literally dumped the ashes on my rose bushes. But there has not been a composting Incinelate toilet on there in years. And the apartment thing I built out of the container, my 13-year-old daughter helped me design it, and it was for the future, hoping that San Mateo County would come on board and learn to start getting a little bit alternative and allow things like composting toilets and not force you to have whatever 250-foot leach fields to have a house for someone. So no, the apartment in the new building has never been used. There's no power to it. There's no water to it. It was literally built for the future. I thought, what a cool building. We've got a shop on one side, hay storage in the middle, freezer on the other side, storage above the freezer, and an apartment on the other side. I just thought it was cool. I built it. I had no plans of using it as a domestic space. It is unused. You can go there right now and you will see it has never been used. It was for the future. That's why there is no septic connected. That's why there's no power connected. It was hoping in the future you guys would get on board with supporting more housing in this county without your incredibly strict regulations that restrict people like me from having my family be able to stay in this county.
Probably still have another question, and just, I need a moment to formulate it. Everybody else has. Is there, I didn't see a topograph in the report. Is there some sort of study done about runoff?
The topographic map, do we have any maps or information regarding the flow of drainage on the property?
No, right now we don't have anything, but we have added condition that it will be like, not the topographic map, but the drainage plan should be submitted.
We have nothing.
No, we have a very, whatever we have is what we have, but we will be imposing conditions to show all the detail at the building permit stage.
Yes, just to reiterate what Sonal said, so the structure is going to have to go through the building permit process. And during the review of the building permit, we will get down to the details of how the drainage is being managed and ensure that it complies with all relevant county and regional standards.
So would that include potentially having a detention area if it's found that there's more surface runoff than there used to be prior to the development?
Yes, absolutely. If modifications are needed to properly control the runoff, that will become a condition of our approval for the building permit.
Okay.
And if I may, through the chair, there are no further hands raised on Zoom for public comment.
Thank you. I think we can close public comment for now, for item 4 and begin commission discussion. Are there any comments from the commission? We can discuss and entertain a motion.
And if I can provide assistance, I think the options that are before the commission are to adopt the staff recommendation, which would approve the development after the fact with a number of terms to that approval that would require project to be modified to mitigate for the impacts to the neighbors and to the scenic view. Another option available to the commission would be to deny the after the fact permit application, in which case the applicant would be required to remove the unpermitted structure. And I think the third option would be for you to take an action that's different from what the staff recommendation. So denial is one option. Another option would be to change the terms of the approval if you believe additional terms are needed, or if terms needed to be removed, you would have that discretion. The final option, of course, would be for you to continue the matter in the event you feel the need for more information. I think of all those options, continuation is least preferable from the staff's perspective. This has been a matter that's been pending for many years that we really would like to bring to resolution.
So I heard your different options, Director Manovit. How is your second option of just removing the second story different from the first option?
Well, the first option being adoption of the staff recommendation would require removal of the second story.
Okay, so that is one option.
Yes, I mean, I think, staff feels like we have tried to strike the right balance here, both in terms of mitigating the impacts of the unpermitted development on the neighbors and on the environment, while also recognizing that the property owner does have a legitimate agricultural operation. Agricultural support uses are allowed within this area. And so our recommendation of conditional approval would allow this agricultural operator to continue to store his meats and his tools on the property, but would also require him to modify the structures to eliminate the second story, to install the sound attenuation wall, to remove all unpermitted bathroom facilities. And so we feel like our recommendation is the best path forward, but should the commission desire to go in another direction, certainly willing to help you figure out what that might be.
I'm satisfied that the staff has conducted the due diligence and ready to make a motion. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I think it is, we're kind of trying to thread a needle between basically two parties that are not pleased with what's currently in place. And the county also working within what it's able to do, because a lot of this stuff that is currently built could have been permitted had it gone through the actual process, which means that it would be allowed under current rules. And I think from what I read, the removal of the second story and the insurance that since this site can't have the percolation area for septic system, you know, that no habitation facilities would be allowed. And then also ensuring that there's mitigation for the sound. I think it seems the county has done, the staff has done a fairly decent job of threading that needle. And I'm not sure what I could add as a commissioner. I mean, I would say, oh, I would like to have more screening, but it seems the removal of the second story does reduce its visibility from the highway. And I also want to make sure that the adjacent neighbors are not seeing what's going on as much as possible, just to give them more peace from this site. But again, what is built could have been permitted had it gone through the right process.
I think my main concern is those sprouting from health considerations of use of the land for habitation, principally through waste disposal. And I mean, in the absence of a septic system or an improved mechanism for removing waste that would be adhered to, yes, I'm principally concerned that A, waste will still be generated, B, unless runoff is considered, that waste will eventually make it into places where it could pose some sort of a health hazard.
Yes, staff certainly shares those concerns and, you know, those are the reasons why that we've conditioned the project to require evidence of any sort of bathroom facilities. As I mentioned, we'll also be reviewing this drainage system in more detail as part of the building permit review. And, you know, I think our code compliance unit is aware of the concerns and will be keeping a close eye on how the property is used to ensure that it is not being used for habitation purposes in the future.
No, I feel that proper conditions in place to approve this project, and as Commissioner Nugent had also clarified some of the things that at the permitting stage, some of those things would be brought in so that any kind of drainage issues and things would be specified and clarified there. And the thing that I wanted to ask, if there is something we can put in the conditions of maybe doing an inspection after, say, a year's time, to make sure that whatever we are asking for is done properly. I don't know whether 1 year is the right time or at some point where county can do an inspection.
That is fully our intent, and I don't believe an additional condition is needed. So the way this would unfold, should the commission adopt our recommendation, would be the property owner would have to follow up with the necessary building permits, and we would do inspections after the building permit was obtained to make sure that the second story had been deconstructed properly, to make sure that any necessary drainage improvements were installed properly, and to confirm that conditions requiring removal of bathroom facilities have been addressed. So all of those inspections will be built into the building permit. process.
Okay. Okay, so under those, with those things in place, I'm ready to make the motion. And so I would like to make the motion that the planning commission approve after the fact pad permit and the CBX for PLN 2023-00112 based on the subject to the required findings and conditions of approval listed in attachment A.
Second,
Commissioner Garcia,
Aye.
Commissioner Gupta,
Aye.
Commissioner Nugent.
Aye.
Chair Serrano Khan.
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries.
Thank you, commissioners, and so the neighbors are aware that this decision is appealable to the board of supervisors within 10 working days.
We will now move on to item number 5, and clerk, please introduce the project and the planner.
Owner, Mid Peninsula Regional Open Space District. Applicant, San Mateo County. File number PLN 2025-00104. Location 0 Higgins Canyon Road. Assessor's parcel number 064-374-120 and 160 and 300. And your project planner is Michael Schaller. Out.
Sorry. Well, they don't, that's, good morning, commissioners. The project before you is a request from the Department of Public Works for a coastal development permit to construct road repairs, bank stabilization, and habitat enhancements along the southwestern bank of Mills Creek, adjacent to the northeastern side of Higgins Canyon Road in the unincorporated Higgins Canyon area of San Mateo. This first map here gives you an approximate location of where the project is. It's about a mile east of the intersection of Higgins Canyon Road with Cabrillo Highway. Across from the driveway for 1780 Higgins Canyon Road. Next. Thank you. The area of work is immediately upstream of the Higgins Canyon Road Bridge, which is, you can see is on the far left of the drawing there, where Higgins Canyon Road crosses over Mills Creek. The slope requiring repair sits on a southwestern creek bank along Mills Creek. Mills Creek kind of comes down from the top of the top of the drawing, and then kind of goes through a series of horseshoe bends, and the area of damage that needs to be repaired is kind of right smack in the middle of the drawing there. Next, please. Landslides occurred in 2021 and 2022 in the project site with worsening conditions in 2023. Next, please. The landslide area is approximately 115 feet long and extends downslope approximately 28 feet from the road surface. The landslide has resulted in loss of 1 to 2 feet of pavement failure along the outboard shoulder of Higgins Canyon Road, and that will probably continue without any, if no steps are taken to fix the problem. Next, please. Okay. To stabilize the creek bank and maintain public access along Higgins Canyon Road, the Department of Public Works is proposing to construct an approximately 190-foot long soldier pile retaining wall with approximately 185 feet of biostabilization-based bank repair. Next, please. That's a cross section of the retaining wall on the bottom of the drawing there, and next, please. This is a cross section of The slope repair slope once the work is completed. This portion of the project consists of soil lifts and vegetated boulder embedments. Once that portion of the project is completed, the creek bank will then be restored to its pre-erosional flow path, and Higgins Canyon Road will be reconstructed with the addition of an asphalt concrete dike, drainage swales, and Midwest guardrails. Next please. The restored creek banks will then be replanted with native riparian plant species. Discussed in your staff report. Staff believes the project as conditioned complies with the policies contained in the county LCP, particularly with regards to the protection of sensitive habitats and meeting performance standards for projects conducted in riparian corridors. Next week. In closing, staff is recommending approval of the requested coastal development permit by adopting the required findings and conditions of approval contained in attachment A of the staff report. Are there any questions I can answer for the staff? Or I'm going to start for the commissioners. Also, the DPW is here to answer any questions we have as well.
Do we have any questions for staff and the commission?
Yes, I do have a question. So I couldn't find a section of the retaining wall, just the bank stabilization. Can you describe the retaining wall? Well, yeah, this is just the bank stabilization, but I'm looking at it also called out in the plans.
Perhaps
Retaining wall.
one of the engineers from DPW can give you a more detailed description
Okay.
of the soil retaining wall.
Yeah, it's gonna be a soldier,
Which
steel soldier.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a steel soldier pile wall with concrete lagging, and our piles go all the way down to bedrock.
Okay.
And it's, the longest pile goes 40 feet, ranging from 20 to 40 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. And then at the bottom would be revegetated, reinforcement protection, which is more environmentally friendly. And the environmental agency also likes to see that type of feature.
Yeah.
Permitting.
Okay. Thank you.
Could you state your name?
Wendy, senior civil engineer.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Question, yes, I had a question. So I've noticed that some of, like one of the parcels is probably the bigger area is owned by the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
some of it is private.
well, I mean, technically Midland is also private property owner as well. Can we go back to keep them. Keep going. There we go. Nope. There we go, okay. So, this is property line right here,
Okay,
goes there, and then there's another property line right here. And the property lines actually are kind of, they don't necessarily respect the actual, the road kind of, the road right of way, Higgins Canyon Road, very old road. And actually kind of crosses over onto private property, like many of our old roads in the county do. So this is Mid-Penn owns this piece of property, and I'm afraid I forget the names of the other two property owners here.
They are individuals.
But they are private individuals, yes.
And the
Okay.
fourth.
and where is the improvement?
It's all gonna be,
Repairs?
correct, can you, no, I'm sorry, can you, scroll?
Next slide.
Sorry. Okay, keep going.
Basically where the dark dash line.
Yeah, actually, let me, the one that's got the color on, it, very last. There we go. Oh, okay. So, the retaining wall is gonna be constructed right here.
Okay.
And then go back one.
And which side is the canyon on?
Can you go back to the one we were just looking at?
Sorry.
Okay, so, this is the driveway for 1780 Higgins Canyon Road. Higgins Canyon Road is actually right here. So once the retaining wall is constructed, there will be boulders with willow roots, willow plantings will be placed down through this area. And then soil lifts will also be placed there to kind of provide a slope down to the creek bank.
Okay.
And then
So
the channel flow itself will be reestablished more this way, so it's away from, it's now digging this way, obviously. And then everything will be revegetated with riparian plant species.
Who's the fourth owner?
I'm sorry.
The parcel over this way.
So this piece of land right here,
No, that's Midtown.
that's Midpen, it kind of goes all the way here.
The one on the left of that?
And then I'm afraid I don't know the name of this person or this person.
yeah, there are two.
Left of that?
In this, what about
Two
the
lanes.
south?
And then, let's see. 1780 is, you know the names, I'm afraid I don't know their names off the top of my head.
Seventeen eighty Higgins, I think you're right, it's Giannetti.
Oh, Giannetti, okay.
1780.
Yeah, so they own this piece of land over here, Giannetti Construction. Yeah,
So why is the county doing the?
well, this is a public road. And provides access not only to obviously the property owners who live up and down. If you could go back all the way to the very first drawing. No, one more, there we go. So Higgins Canyon Road comes off of Half Bay, and eventually when it gets to the very right about here, it goes around around the bend, so to speak, and then becomes Purisman Creek Road and continues on until it intersects with Highway 1 down here. So obviously there are numerous private property owners. There's also the Midpen, has more open space preserve up here. So yeah, this is a necessary access for all these property owners.
Is there an easement for this road, or I didn't notice an easement line on the plans? Or like, what, I'm just curious what the.
Yeah, I mean, it's a public access easement across the property lines.
Yeah, we will be getting easements from the property.
Okay,
Right
so
now-
they're currently.
No, this area is very interesting, some of these roads. The road itself meanders in and out, so there are some areas with public easement, there are areas that are not. So this project, we would have to get the temporary easements from this property.
Have they been contacted already?
Yes, we have contacted them, and we're in the process of getting the easements from them, and they're all very agreeable to, because it really is protecting the land, the roadway access to all their properties.
So has this area has had any landslides, flooding, erosion?
Yes, this
All of
road is prone to landslide. We just did 2 other slides further up to the west. to the east. So it's very crucial that we repair the slides as soon as possible.
No, I think it's great you're doing it. When is the last time anything was done here?
Just year ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this area is very, the soil here is very unstable, unfortunately. Any questions?
Is this frequented by visitors or this is more access?
The creek's very deep, so it's not really accessible.
Let's see, there's a state park.
That's,
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
well,
Yes, there are, there's Burley Murray State Park. Um, there are actually a lot of people who access this road to get to Burley Murray State Park. And then at the very end of where Higgins Canyon turns and becomes Charisma Creek Road, there's access to Charisma Creek Redwoods open space, which is also mid-Penn open space district plan. So yeah, this road does get a lot of on the weekends vehicle traffic from people, you know, accessing those public lands.
by the size of the project reports, 500 some pages, it's very detailed.
Well, they're obviously because when the county's not the only permitting authority. The federal and state U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Army Corps of Engineers have to issue permits because there's work occurring in the waters of the United States within the creek. So yeah, there's a lot of in addition to the CDP that the county is required to issue, these other state and federal agencies also. So there's a lot of people involved with projects of this nature. And just wanted to make sure you guys had all the information you needed in order to evaluate the project.
When did the landslide occur?
Well, there's been a series of landslides starting in 2021 and in 2022. And then it's been an ongoing problem for the last 3-4 years. Obviously, it always depends upon rainfall. Maybe not spectacular rainfall last year, but it kind of seems to be coming more and more in surges instead of just kind of continuous. We get these bigger storms, and then we get nothing. We get big storms. Yeah.
And where does the funding come from?
That's a good question.
it's FEMA funding.
It's coming from the federal government.
Federal government? Wow.
Part of the 2023 federal emergency declaration.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions I can answer?
Any other question for staff? Thanks, Mike.
Maybe.
Open public comment for item number 5. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. We did not receive any written correspondence, and at this time, there's nobody wishing to speak on item number 5. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now close public comment for item number 5 and begin commission discussion on this item. Any comments from the commission?
Looks like a good project needs to be done. I hope the funding comes through.
Sure. Any other
No,
comments?
I appreciate the vegetative bank stabilization that's incorporated into this.
Yeah. Thank you. Perhaps we can entertain a motion.
Sure.
Thank you.
I move that the planning commission adopt the initial study and declaration approving the coastal development permit, county file number PLN 2025-00104. and making the, required findings and subject conditions of approvals.
I second.
Commissioner Garcia,
Aye.
Commissioner Gupta,
Aye.
Commissioner Nugent.
Aye.
Chair Serrano Kwan.
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Mr. Monowitz, turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Chair Saran Kwan, and thanks to all the commissioners for being flexible about our meeting space today. You might be following some of the actions that the Board of Supervisors has been taking in response to the issue regarding the sheriff's appointment. So they got priority for chambers today, and appreciate your willingness to be flexible in that regard. So moving on to item 6, there's no correspondence to report other than the correspondence you received regarding item number 4. Moving on to item 7, with regard to our next meeting, which will occur on December 10th. We have no study session proposed. We do have 3 items on the regular agenda. They include a coastal development and planned agricultural district permit for a lot line adjustment in Pescadero. There's another coastal permit and planned agricultural district permit, as well as architectural review for a proposed test domestic well on a parcel on the west side of Highway 1 near Pescadero. And then finally, we'll be having a public scoping session on the environmental impact report that will be prepared for our housing element rezoning program. Proceeding on to item 8, the director's report. I'd like to inform you that at the November 4th Board of Supervisors meeting, the appeal by the applicant for the Lacasia project in the mid-coast was granted by the Board of Supervisors, and the project was approved. Upcoming items that will be before the Board of Supervisors include an affordable housing agreement for new residential development near Pescadero. This is a project that was approved by this commission because it involves the installation of additional residential units on a agricultural parcel that already has a primary residence. That additional residence needs to be affordable to lower income residents, and so to implement that requirement, we, in agreement with the property owner, we sent it to the board. And then finally, on December 9th, the board will be considering a memorandum of understanding with 10 other cities within the county. We are all collaborating on an update to multi-jurisdictional housing linkage fee study. So some of the commissioners may be aware that the county, as well as other jurisdictions, levies a housing impact fee for new development that will increase the demand for additional housing within the county. The amount of that fee needs to be based on a nexus study that establishes an appropriate proportion of that fee and relates it to a direct impact from the development. We did such a nexus study many years ago to justify the fee that's currently in place. And we feel it's time to revisit that fee based on new data and economic circumstances. So that will be considered by the Board of Supervisors December 9th. And that concludes my report for today. I'm happy to answer any questions the commissioners might have.
So our last meeting will be, the year will be December 10th.
That's correct. Only one meeting in December.
Just, I've refreshed my memory in terms of the terms of the chair. I think that's brought up, right?
Yeah, traditionally, we conduct an election of chair at the January meeting. So that will certainly be something to consider for our January meeting.
So just a question on why were only 10 cities chosen for this linkage, housing linkage fee?
You know, when the county undertakes project that we think other cities are interested in may be interested in participating in, we put it out there. We let them know, this is something the county intends to do. Would you like to collaborate with us? And so we had 10 cities that took us up on the offer. I can't speak to the reason why the other 11 cities did not. It could be that they have done their own nexus studies, or perhaps they don't have a desire to update their fees. I don't know, but I'm glad that we have 10 cities who have.
Okay, so that's how it works.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah. We have a couple other projects that will be coming before the commission where we've put it out to cities that we've got these projects underway, and it provides an opportunity for collaboration. They include the update to our general plan safety element, as well as the new environmental justice element that we'll be proposing to incorporate into our general plan. And in both those situations, we had only a few cities take us up on that offer. But we're glad for the collaboration that we've had the opportunity to have with them. And yeah, I think it's something that we'll continue to do moving forward. With, you know, a lot of the cities within the county have similar interests and requirements, and so where we can collaborate to address those new requirements and help each other out in meeting our needs, we continue to take advantage of those opportunities, but we can't force it on cities.
Right, no, I understand that. I was not aware of what the process is, so this is how. It's not that county decides which cities, it's the cities decide whether.
Well, correct. And you know, we're very fortunate to have the Planning Collaborative, which is a private entity, also known as 21 Elements. They're a consulting firm that works with the county as well as all the cities within the county on items of mutual interest, such as our housing element. In fact, they've sponsored a number of planning commissioner trainings that perhaps some of you may have attended, and they've been very helpful in getting the word out about opportunities to collaborate on projects such as these.
Okay. So talking about this planning collaborative, I attended this planning commission training on the climate resilience, on this, what they call one shoreline.
Right.
I'm surprised, I had never heard of this one shoreline before. It has been around since 2021.
Yes.
And it was a very good presentation. They had a small set of commissioners present there, which I was surprised because otherwise the planning commission training has many more commissioners there. And they have sent their presentation to, like they always do that. They sent that, and if anybody is interested, I can actually forward it to Angela, and she can forward it to others on that. And it was good. Their CEO, Len Matterman, spoke, gave us an overview of what one shoreline does, because Supervisor Dave Pine was on the chair of their board for while he was the supervisor, which I never knew.
Yes, he was instrumental in establishing that organization.
Right.
And we collaborate with them quite frequently. Many of you may know that one of the projects that we've been working on has to deal with sea level rise in Princeton and how we're going to adapt to increasing sea level rises in Princeton. And One Shoreline has been a terrific partner in working towards developing that adaptation strategy.
Yeah, right. And they were talking about even on the Bayside, I think.
Yes, on the Bayside, they provide a really important role because, as I'm sure the commissioners can appreciate, sea level rise and climate change doesn't respect jurisdictional boundaries, right? And so One Shoreline helps bridge between the various jurisdictions so we can establish more comprehensive plans that are not limited to jurisdictional boundaries.
Right, right. No, it was very interesting because they kind of connected the different agencies, so many agencies that we have within the county that they look like just piecemeal, but they put them all together, how they were. So it was a very good presentation.
Glad to hear.
Hey, Steve, one last question from me. Just curious about the housing element and how frequently will we be briefed on the compliance on it? It's really tricky and just.
Certainly. So we do have to submit annual reports to the state identifying our progress. And so we'll be sure to keep you informed and provide you with copies of those annual reports. I think the next time you'll be hearing from us about the housing element update will be at the next meeting for the scoping session for the rezoning amendments. And yes, I'm happy to keep the commission informed of our other efforts and any correspondence that comes in about that. So at this point, the status is that our plan has been accepted by the state, but in order to achieve full compliance, we need to complete the rezonings. And we're also going to have to demonstrate that our level of housing production is keeping pace with the regional allocation we've been granted. So we will do our best to keep the commissioners informed of these matters as they unfold moving forward.
Thank you. All sites have been identified or there's.
Yes, we have identified all the sites that we believe provide sufficient opportunity to build the number of units required by the state. However, that's dependent upon our successful completion of the rezonings. So that's the critical next step.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Adjourn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.